A jet built to shatter records, promised to cross America 45 minutes faster than any Boeing, yet it lost $500 million, ended a company, and cost thousands of jobs. The Convair 990 could outpace today's fastest airliners, but nearly every number was a disappointment. How did a quest for unmatched speed become aviation's most expensive cautionary tale? The answer starts with a single impossible demand. In the late 1950s, the race for speed in commercial aviation was reaching a boiling point. American Airlines, locked in fierce competition with TWA and United, wanted to offer something no rival could match: a coast-to-coast jet service that arrived 45 minutes ahead of the Boeing 707. Their challenge was blunt: deliver a jet that could cruise at 635 miles per hour, nearly 100 miles per hour faster than anything in scheduled service. Boeing engineers refused, insisting that such speeds were out of reach without crossing into the supersonic realm. But Convair, eager to break into the top ranks of jet manufacturers, saw opportunity in the impossible. Their sales teams promised not just to meet Americans' demand, but to exceed it. They pledged an airliner that would cruise at Mach 0.91, a speed that would leave every competitor behind. This was more than a technical specification, it was a marketing weapon. American Airlines built their entire advertising campaign around the promise of a 45-minute advantage. Timetables, magazine spreads, and boardroom projections all hinged on the idea that time, measured in minutes saved, could be turned into market share. The pressure on Convair's engineers was relentless. Every day lost in development meant another day the 707 dominated the skies. The contract itself reflected the urgency, with penalty clauses for missing the speed target, and a pricing structure that left Convair exposed if anything fell short. Inside Convair's San Diego offices, the mood was electric and anxious. The company had staked its reputation, and potentially its survival, on a single bet: that speed would sell, and that the promise of 635 miles per hour could be turned from marketing fantasy into engineering reality. Richard Whitcomb's work at NACA had already transformed military jets, but Convair's engineers saw a chance to bring his area rule theory to commercial flight for the first time. The challenge was simple to state but hard to solve. How do you push a large airliner close to the speed of sound without being swallowed by drag? Whitcomb's answer was counterintuitive. Don't just streamline the plane, reshape it so the total cross-sectional area changes smoothly from nose to tail, even if that means adding volume in surprising places. On the Convair 990, this principle took shape as 4 distinctive pods mounted on the wing's trailing edges. Engineers called them anti-shock bodies, but pilots and mechanics soon gave them a more playful name: Küchemann carrots, after the aerodynamicist Ludwig Küchemann. These pods were not just for show. By bulking out the wings at critical points, they smoothed the aircraft's area distribution, calming the shock waves that normally built up as a jet approached Mach 0.87. Convair claimed the pods alone cut wave drag by a quarter at these speeds, a leap that no other commercial jet had yet managed. The 2 larger inboard pods even doubled as extra fuel tanks, while the outboard pair housed fuel dump tubes. Every curve, every angle was calculated to squeeze out a little more speed without crossing the supersonic threshold. This was the first time anyone had grafted such a radical aerodynamic fix onto a civilian airliner. If the theory held up in flight, the Convair 990 would not only keep its promise to American Airlines, it would set a new standard for what was possible in commercial aviation design. Flight test logs began to tell a different story the moment the Convair 990 took to the air. The numbers, once the pride of Convair's marketing, became a source of anxiety for engineers and flight crews. Instead of the promised 540 knots, typical cruise speed settled at 484 knots, nearly 60 knots slower than the contract required. Pilots reported that pushing the aircraft harder only drove up fuel consumption without delivering the expected gains in speed. At economic cruise, the Convair 990 burned through 13,750 pounds of fuel per hour, a figure that alarmed airline accountants and left route planners with few options. The range also fell short. Operational data showed a gap of 500 miles from the original specification. This shortfall meant that non-stop transcontinental flights, once the core selling point, were now a logistical challenge. especially when facing headwinds or carrying a full passenger load. For American Airlines, the disappointment was immediate and quantifiable. Penalty clauses in the contract, triggered by these performance gaps, cost Convair millions. The technical team scrambled to find incremental improvements, but the gap between promise and reality could not be closed with last-minute fixes. Cabin crews and pilots, who had prepared for a new era of speed, found themselves explaining delays and fuel stops to passengers expecting a revolution. The data from each flight only reinforced what the numbers already proved. The Convair 990 could not outrun the physics, and it could not outrun the contract. With every hour in the air, the cost spiral tightened, setting the stage for consequences far beyond the flight deck. Development costs for the Convair 990 ballooned to nearly $500 million, a staggering sum in the early 1960s. Each aircraft rolled out with a price tag of $8 million, already $2 million higher than the proven Boeing 707. But the real problem was not just sticker shock, it was what buyers got for their money. The 990 could carry only 106 passengers in typical layouts, while the 707 routinely seated 189. That meant every seat on a 990 cost the airline far more to buy, to fuel, and to operate. Airline finance teams ran the numbers and found the 990's operating cost per seat mile came in about 40% higher than its rivals. Much of the blame landed on the General Electric CJ805-23B engines. These power plants burned through fuel at a rate that outpaced even the hungriest competitors, erasing any advantage the 990's speed might have offered. And the aircraft's appetite for long runways limited where it could fly, making it a poor fit for most airline route networks. As losses mounted, General Dynamics, Convair's parent company, watched its balance sheets bleed red ink. The total loss reached $425 million, the largest corporate loss in American history at the time. Investors fled, and the company's stock price collapsed by 65%. When the last 990 left the assembly line, it was not just the end of a program, it was the end of America's third airliner manufacturer. Convair would never build another commercial jet. Swissair saw something in the Convair 990 that most airlines missed. On routes stretching from Zurich to Rio de Janeiro, the Coronado lived up to its name, averaging cruise speeds of 560 knots, faster than any commercial jet of its era. For Swissair, speed was more than a marketing line. It was a tool for carving out new long-haul markets where every minute counted. Over 15 years, the 990 proved profitable in Swiss hands, flying polar and equatorial routes that favored its unique strengths. Behind the scenes, Swissair's engineers and crews came to rely on the aircraft's advanced systems. The 990 introduced the world's first full anti-skid braking system, allowing safer landings on wet runways. Kruger flaps on the wing's leading edge improved takeoff and landing performance, while fully powered flight controls with artificial feel gave pilots precision at any speed. Its autopilot, more sophisticated than anything else in service, helped crews manage the demands of high-speed, long-range flights. In the right environment, the Coronado delivered on its promise, not just in speed, but in innovation. 13,000 aerospace workers in San Diego received layoff notices as Convair's commercial jet ambitions collapsed. The shock rippled through families, neighborhoods, and the city's economy, leaving a void that never fully healed. General Dynamics stock lost nearly 2/3 of its value, and with Convair's exit, America's third airliner manufacturer was gone. Yet the Coronado refused to disappear quietly. Spantax charter crews kept the 990 flying into 1987, logging miles at speeds no modern airliner would attempt. NASA pressed the jet into sonic boom research, chasing the edge of possibility. Across its brief airline life, the 990 set 22 city pair speed records. On its final flight, it still flew faster than the first Boeing 787, an echo of the promise that once set thousands of hands and hopes in motion. Today, airlines chase efficiency and capacity, not raw speed. No passenger jet since has matched the 990's Mach 0.91 cruise, and no company has gambled so much on time saved. The market still decides what matters at 35,000 feet. Some ambitions fly too far ahead to survive. Share your thoughts below.